It says that I'm live. Am I live? Can you hear me? Are we playing accordingly? Let's hope so. Looks like it's reading me. Everybody give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. There's no annoying noises. No stupid echoes. I need to do a backflip. Yay, thank you. Hi, everybody. How are you? I am doing wonderful. Rough few days. Don't feel like talking about it. Next time we talk, we'll do that. Today, we're going to watch a movie and have some fun. Not that it's a very fun movie. It's not the most fun of movies. There are some fun parts. Dragons, stuff like that. The Warner Brothers thing comes in at a weird time on this movie. So, the copy that I have starts pretty much right away. I will show you the screen when we're ready, as usual. Oh no. Great. Dealing with the technical end of this, letting everybody enter in. All that jazz. Give us a few minutes before we start. So, this movie is by a director called Zack Snyder. I fell in love with Zack when I saw he did a remake of Dawn of the Dead, George Romero's Dawn of the Dead, which is one of my favorite movies. So when I heard they were remaking it, I was kind of pissed in some ways, but definitely was expecting it to suck, and it didn't. He did a really good job bringing it back to life, so to speak, modernizing it a bit, and still encapsulating what was cool about the original. And also kind of, was really enjoying the messages that he was putting in the movies. And he went on to make a lot of ones, some of which that you've probably seen. He made the Man of Steel movie, which is Superman, and the Batman versus Superman movie, Justice League 300, which is a fun movie. And he did the motion picture version of The Watchmen, which was, I guess, a graphic novel. So I remember talking to someone at one point in time who used to work with him. So I know he's kind of very much in the pocket, but I also noticed that he tries to bleed out a lot of stuff that he probably isn't supposed to do. And if you were to follow the news, I won't go too far into it. It looks like he got himself into trouble by doing so. So this particular one I thought would be good because it kind of finishes off the whole astral projection of 3 different layers of reality and how we can use them to our benefit. Yeah, I think this is one of the best that they did. All right. So, let's start off with our regular little film here. Maybe almost 5 minutes. Perfect. What else can I say? I don't really have much else to say. Yeah. Smoke, we've got him, guys. I do want to kind of warn people, especially people who may have been involved with some dark stuff, that there's a lot of triggers in this movie. It's very MK Ultra heavy. Monarch programming heavy. It actually shows you the different types. The female leads in this movie represent the different types of Monarch programming, and just the general topics of it. There's, the idea of human slavery, sex, that kind of stuff. So if you feel like you may be triggered by any of those things, definitely understood, and feel free not to watch. I don't want anyone to feel bad from this. So be warned. I guess I've given you the warning. We'll do one more of these, and then I'll get you guys lined up, and we'll start. This is another God's green crack for those who care. And yes, I got a haircut. My friend Grace was kind enough to use my clippers on my head for me. I've been kind of happy. I've been kind of bumping into some people in the streets, and people kind of given up on, not giving me a hug. So got to get some hugs from some friends this week, which was kind of nice. And had a nice adventure last weekend. And yeah, next one. Once again, there are other places you can go if you want a good breakdown of the esoteric symbology and all of that stuff. That's not what I do. I try to focus more on the subtle messages that they're trying to give you and the more culture creation, predictive programming, and of that. For this particular movie, I know Vigilant Citizen had done a really good one. And there are probably others that you can find. So. I owe you a hug someday? It'd be hard. I don't take kindly to people just randomly showing up here. But I do like to give hugs, so maybe my fucking headphones are tangled as shit. What is going on here? Excuse my language. You're used to it. This is like old school technical difficulty, right? Wires. Could avoid this by being wireless like all the cool kids. I'm just not that cool. It is what it is. Alright. Plugged in there. I'm doing myself a favor and turn the volume down before I start, because usually I scare the crap out of myself. Let's see if there's an actual image on the screen. There we go. Alright, guys, I'm going to turn the camera towards the laptop and screen, so hopefully you can kind of see what's going on here. It's an annoying noise. So there's that cool, right at the very top of the screen. It's like, if you imagine it's going to light up more, there's a stage there. So if you can get right there, the timestamp is at 5 seconds. All right. So we're going to start in 3, 2, 1, play. And it starts right away. The opening sequence is really cool. So I'm going to leave that to play because it sets up the rest of the movie a little bit. And this song is awesome. Now there's a pretty powerful fucking message. A whole lot of it's not what happens to the being, it's what the being chooses to do once it happens to them. Introduce some trauma. Nothing new, right? Yeah, the actress in this movie, the lead there, her name is Emily Browning. The only other thing I've really seen her in, she was in the TV show American Gods, based on Neil Gaiman's books, which is also a really cool show. If we could do this on a TV show, that would be a really fun one to do because it's all about gods and demons and that kind of stuff. I think I mentioned it before. But she also sings the vocals on this song, like the soundtrack version of Sweet Dreams. That's her voice. And a few other songs on the soundtrack. The movie soundtrack is awesome just on its own. It's a really cool Bjork song in the middle of it. We can see where this is going. The stepfather, as it probably is or is, would like the will and can't have it because it's going to go to the daughters. And he's upset and going to take it out on one of the daughters. And like any good big sister would do, she was like, how about fuck that? And Blake, if you're listening, you can tell Donald to actually come on my podcast. I've been trying to talk to a guy for years. He won't do it. Well, fuck. I don't even know what to say. This is one of those things. Oops. Maybe the lesson there is you should learn how to use a gun before you try to use a gun. And how's that for grief and little Stockholm syndrome? Even after that, she still wouldn't shoot him. So, in terms of layers of reality, what they're setting up here is her base layer. Like, this is her 3D life. Everyday waking life. And you can kind of see that they're implying that she's going to sleep here, right? And being taken somewhere. So you will start to see some transitions between worlds that look like that. One that involves sleep, and the next that involves an action, some type of action within that particular. So. They will shout through demons if they have to. I know people don't like fighting, everyone's all peaceful and shit, but there's times and places to fight. And guess what, guys? We're living through one. So there's things even within the imagery that he showed this particular building that kind of tip you off to the idea that there's like, the face value of what's going on in this building, and then there's a little bit of an underbelly to the building, so to speak, where, let's say, a secret side to it, which is a very common thing. A lot of entrances to places that we're not supposed to go look like banks, hotels, mental institutions. Oh yeah, check all those boxes. Try to keep an eye on the different actors because you're going to see them in different contexts as things go on. Kind of like with Inception when they were talking about different facets of your subconscious. A lot of characters will kind of reoccur in these dreams and in these realms. They're not always who they look like they are. You have to kind of watch the behavior and kind of feel the energy signature a little bit more than trust the face. The imagery in terms of their environment, as well as what you see when you look at her, how well her hair is done, the makeup, what she's wearing, and whatnot. There's 3 different levels to that as well, which you'll notice. So this is again showing you what it basically looks like, what's really going on. And on the stage there, they're about to play. Right? So I'll point it out a little bit closer to when it actually happens, but you'll see the transition and the triggers. What he means by that is in a certain amount of days, she's going to be lobotomized. They don't look to rehabilitate her like they're trying to with the rest of these girls. And obviously he wants that because he wants the money. Here we go. I'm trying to let you guys actually hear that, sorry. You control this world. Well, there you go. They said it for me. They're giving you a look at all the different characters as well as all the different keys. One quite literally. to what's going to set up the story of this movie, which is ultimately going to be about her escaping. So you can see that at this very point, all this stuff is going into her subconscious. She's recognizing all of these different items that could aid towards her escape. It's a pretty song. Sorry, I just got here. What the fuck is going on? We're watching a movie. It's called SuckerPunch. We're at 11 minutes, or we're at 12 minutes into the movie. It's a commentary on a movie. If you've never seen me do this before, we just watch a movie and I talk shit about it. Not quite literally, but I talk about it. So here we go. This is the moment where she's going to dissociate and go into this other reality. And so you can imagine this as being level 2. Right? This is an imaginary world or a dream world. Obviously, all that very MK Ultra based, pretty gross, and you're going to start to see it all throughout the symbology of this place. It's basically kind of like a nightclub, which, again, familiar places. And see, now we're seeing a different version of the whole reality. Everyone looks a little better, everything's a little prettier, more shine, not quite as dark. And now he's a priest. The high roller, not the guy who's coming to lobotomize her, it's the high roller. Baby doll. Baby doll programming. Like I said, he's been pretty blatant about some of the things he's put in movies. Rocket programming. I think we all wanted to do that. So you can see kind of what they're showing you is that our subconscious is just filling in stuff with a better version of her reality, not unlike what goes on in dream worlds. And the fact that it's the same building, but all the rooms are suddenly different, is again something that you encounter in Dreamland. We talked about it with the house and the mansion in Inception. It's kind of the construct of your mind. It's the construct of your subconscious. And all the rooms can be very detailed and very elaborate and see part of the house. But so there you go. Amber, Blondie, Sweet Pea, Rocket, and Baby Doll. Slightly different personalities to all of them, which represent different trainings, different conditionings. In the way that this house is set up as well, when it comes to the human trafficking part of things, or what the elite are doing when it comes to their level of grossness and depravity. They have places like this. I'm sure our director has become aware of that at some point in time. This song is beautiful too. It's called Lullaby, and that's her voice as well. Has anybody ever washed a floor like that? It's an honest question. I don't think I ever have. But, yeah, I guess there's other types of programming that kind of gets tipped off here too. Obviously, like savior programming's very heavy indications of Stockholm syndrome, trauma bonding, things are with the sisters, things like that. It kind of looks like our premier in Ontario people. It's one of the Ford brothers. It's actor Ford. I'm a pickle, Rick. Some people are gross. Even the bonding between these ladies is probably familiar to some of you who had to experience some of these things. It becomes like another family. Notice even her accent changed a little bit. Just a little bit. So now we're about to see the setup into the third layer. I'm going to play you some music. Using music as an actual, indication of frequency, and then her dancing as an indication of ritual. And this is that Bjork song. It's really cool. And shit's about to get real, so I'll kind of, we can watch it for a bit. They're going to kind of explain what she's doing, what her goal is and stuff here. And so I might be quiet for a little bit once she actually does. That's a good little speech. Welcome to Jumanji Level 3. Just to throw out a timestamp, we're at 22 minutes and 45 seconds. He represents her higher self, talking to her internal master. When you take your weapons, you begin your journey to freedom. Well, there you go. She met her higher self, who showed up as an ascended master, gave her the keys, the blueprint to what she needs to do in order to achieve what she's setting out to do. And these things happen in our astral experiences as well. And this will just be a whole lot of eye candy for a while. But the end result of it all will have an effect at the layer down. And if you do, enter the astral realm and become conscious of yourself there, you are going to have to learn how to defend yourself. And that's what a lot of this is about. I just hope you pick better clothing. Seems a whole lot stronger than she thought she was. Just trusted herself a little bit. Other thing to know when you're learning to navigate the astral realms is it's very much like Neo in the Matrix. The more you believe, the more you can do. But sometimes it requires a little bit of proving it to yourself. There would be no sound on this because I'm watching a movie and talking about a movie. Must be confusing to jump into one of these. But yes, this is a commentary on a film. We're at 27 minutes and 50 seconds into the movie. The movie is called SuckerPunch. There's an element to the three different things that she fights here. They all use very different types of weapons. Modern, old, and something you've never thought of before. There you go. And that's how you get it done. Pretty badass, you got to admit it, right? Now she's looking like, whatever. Oh, there's another one? Let's do this. All right, for real though, that was pretty neat. And she's back. So now she's learned some stuff. She's learned how to get out of here, what she needs to do. Girls being girls and bullying. I haven't watched that video, Russell. I'm sorry. Probably not. But I haven't watched it. So really what she's doing here is more or less trying to recruit all the different aspects of herself to have enough strength to get through this mission, have enough resources, I guess. Very, like, energetically, psychically. When I mean psychic, I just mean her own mental abilities in order to make it through what she needs to get through. And that plays out in her little dream world here as different characters that are helping her in her mission. But really, we've already seen what actually happened in the real world. There's none of that there, right? There's these other girls, but she's going to be the thing that rescues them. Baby reptilians for everybody. She's found her end. Now let's bring everybody in on the plan. What was the plan again? Fire. Knife and key. So, direction. Fire, internal fire, if you will. Your weapon. And then the key would be, your knowledge, your way at the door. So obviously the real world tie-in is that she dances, the person becomes distracted, these other girls do the dirty work, that kind of thing. The transition that we're seeing is actually that these girls all come with her while that's happening. And now they're showing you, the real world versus this dream world, where all these items actually are, as she saw them on the way in. Exactly. Sometimes that could be the crux of the decision. Are you living or are you already dead? And the dancing is the metaphor for her transitioning into the astral aspect of her mind, consciously directing herself in the astral in order to have effect in there. And so obviously what's going on in the real world looks nothing like this. And then what's going on in this world looks nothing like what you're about to see. But as above, so below. And the more conscious you are of each level, the more you can affect things from higher levels and control energy and produce magic. So here's a cover of one of everybody's favorite songs. Has to be some type of Alice in Wonderland references, right? Some familiar symbology on a lot of these uniforms and planes and whatnot. Each one of these different visions she goes into kind of does have its own kind of theme to it, which is something you'll also encounter as you're working through your own psyche in these realms. Different parts of your psyche that require work will kind of present themselves in different themes, different type of imagery, and kind of a different feel, or like this, something that seems like a totally different episode of it, maybe a TV show or something like that. A couple towers attached to an old church. They look a lot like clones, but then zombies. So it's one of the things, especially today when we're talking about martial law and stuff and threatening of the military. There is a whole military that we don't know about. So as much as our military may not turn their guns on us, they have other options. I'm going to shut up about that now. Notice this type of technology is in a lot of things. These type of like exoskeleton, you crawl inside, you control something bigger that looks, a lot of ETs use stuff like that. And it's not much different than, driving a clone around. And so yeah, the one of the things you can take from this movie, I suppose, is what you're seeing. Like these are trials. It's like the initiation that you're going to go through once you become more conscious of these realms. They are very much themed, and they set you up for different things, such as learning how to make the different aspects of your mind, body, spirit, even just various aspects of your mind work together to your benefit in order to accomplish an end goal. Would be, let's say, one lesson that you would have to learn, whereas defending yourself was the first lesson, right? Once you've learned to defend yourself, then you're going to have to learn how to actually take some action. And a big part of that will be to understand how to make the different parts of yourself work as a unit. The trivium method, mind, thinking, feeling, acting, having those things in unity, that idea of balance, all part of the same thing. And in your real life, if you are out of balance, you probably won't get through this step of the ultra realm, the astral realm, sorry. um, for a while. You'll get kind of stuck here until you figure out, your 3D selves to some type of balance. A lot of people will get excited, and that excitement will kind of knock them off of this path, and that's normal. I mean, it is kind of exciting. But again, learning how to balance yourself and control your excitement will help you progress to the next stage. I mean, seriously, why are they wearing dresses? What's up with Wonder Woman's outfit? Xena's sort of made sense, but the cultural programming of this falls a little bit into the warrior bitch type programming, the programming that's making women be more aggressive than they need to be for the sake of being more aggressive than they need to be. Um, was made a few years ago. I think it was around 2012. Um, and we've seen a lot more of it, where you start to see a lot of the, like Captain Marvel is a woman, and there's a lot more emphasis on the females kicking ass and stuff like that. Great on one way, to show some female empowerment, but especially with a lot of young women, what's more going into their mind is that they need to be like that, and it's kind of knocking their femininity out of balance. Anyways, I just recorded a whole podcast about that with Laura Lee. So it sounded really cool in headphones. And yes, eye candy for the guys for sure. She can't get any further because in her real reality, isn't there yet. And yeah, you'll recognize the actors as the orderlies and people that are actually in the asylum she's in, and obviously the bad guy there. Yes, when she's in this astral realm, they represent different aspects of herself. They're all actual characters in her reality world. So when she's in her dream space, she's reproducing those people as characters, right? But if you actually watch all of their personalities, you'll notice that they've all got slight differences. That if you put them together, they would make a little bit more of a whole being, and that would be her. And I guess this is a good example of when I've talked about special effects and, good special effects and bad special effects. You'll notice that a lot of backgrounds in this stuff are still pretty bleak, right? Like nothing's really overdone. There's obvious elements of focus that are very overdone, but everything else still has a very kind of real world feeling to it where it's not completely filled in and it's not completely generated out of nowhere, so to speak. So what that allows with imagination is to fill in those gaps, right? And to actually have some room to explore those gaps, as well as maintain your focus on one thing as opposed to overwhelming it with a bunch of different things. So it's a good example, again, of what I mean by positive special effects in movies and negative ones. So there's a good shot of it, right? Just the way she was there, like the focus is clearly on her. Everything behind her is pretty bleak. It's just clouds in the sky. And you'll notice a lot of it in Zack Snyder movies. 300 is a good example of that because it's a very special effects heavy movie, but he still does a really good job of keeping your focus on one thing at a time instead of overwhelming it with a lot of different stuff. And they did it. Hooray. That was one hell of a dance. Kind of lost in the scene here, guys. So, Zack Snyder, I really love Kubrick movies because of the way he dresses his sets. And I've noticed with Zack Snyder, he's got his own style to it, but it seems to have a very similar effect. It's unfortunate reality that there's a lot of people in positions to try and help people who have their hands tied. They can only do so much. Timestamp on the movie is 51 minutes, 52 seconds, 51 minutes and 3 seconds. 51 minutes and 6 seconds. I can read numbers, guys. Yay me. And it was funny right there. You could see the smudge on the glass for the previous takes of her leaning up against the glass. The girls are her army of me. Well put. See, there's so many little cool things in the background. Even like the rings, everything. Some good work, guys. Some good work. Uh-oh. Just noticing something's missing. Something's moved. Something's different. Clever bastard. You remember in Inception, they were talking about your subconscious kind of working against you at times, having like a shadow type influence that will start to come into your dreams and try to maybe stop your progress. I think he's can kind of represent that, the way that he notices these slight differences within things and goes, huh? And obviously, it, having known a lot of people like him, they are that kind of obsessive that they notice little movements and stuff like that. Hey, there's the lighter. Now it's not a shitty silver lighter. Now it's this pretty gold lighter. I barely want to say it, but this is a bit of whistleblowing on the human trafficking things. Having them, these high rollers come in and select women based on various criteria, getting to choose, saving the better ones for the more rich people, and obviously people in asylums and addiction rehab places, sketchy medical facilities are pretty easy to disappear. Kill the creatures in your way. You're not killing people anymore, zombies, dead soulless people. Now you've got creatures. There's a lot more fantasy element to this one, obviously, because creatures and banging crystals together. This is where your imagination is starting to open up. Your creative powers are starting to show themselves to you. And you kind of will go through a gauntlet, so to speak, of learning how to perfect that. Almost like having your own construct you can play in order to get, practice, get really good at it. Get really good at it. so that when you're out in the big MMO of the actual astral realm, you you know how to play with others, and you know how to all these different steps to defending yourself, working within yourself as a whole unit, um, being able to create, and then we'll get to the last one when they do. Oh, Julie, I don't want to do that. Whenever I do the next thing, I have some things I want to talk about that anyway, so I will soon finally bite the bullet on that. Aww, look at a little baby dragon. Oh, it's so cute. Gross. Me too, Vermilion. Me too. Kind of a cool little trick, eh? The dragon has a couple crystals in its throat that, when they clack together, they make fire. Uh oh. There's always a bigger fish. And Mommy looks pissed. And it looks like a Game of Thrones dragon. What does the dragon symbolize to me? Oh, Jesus, that's a loaded question. Um, can be a lot of different things. I mean, it depends on. You can interpret it different ways, even for yourself. The Jordan Peterson way is a good way to start, obviously. If you're kind of asking what I'm talking about when I talk about dragons, it's more of a soul thing that I identify with. Is the dragon her reptilian mind? Sort of. I guess it could be represented that way, considering what's going on. Yes. Um, the idea of slaying the dragon is just the shadow work, essentially. If you want to really boil it down. All the things we fear, letting go of fear. And then there used to be dragons. or there are dragons, and so they're in our genetic memory. And we were made by a race of a type of dragon, Draco, Drac, Drake, Drag, Drog, Potato, Potato, Tomato, Tomato. Getting chased by a dragon in a plane would be fucking terrifying. Well done. Well done. Her getting in charge of that part of her mind. That's a good way of putting it. Controlling. Integrating. Integrating. That's the word I keep looking for. He must have really liked that dance. Oh, there you go. The next part. Never put your eggs in one basket and never hide all your shit in one spot. All of the theater is real, dude. It's real. Drama geeks stick together. That fucking mustache. You should just sort of like slap it off of his face, or like rip it off of his face. Mm-hmm. Both from Star Wars, yeah. Yes, bro. So he is the demon. Her mind keeps recasting in different forms on the astral. Yes. Yes. As she gains more confidence, she gets the more in the 3D. Yes. That's true for us as well, right? The more you become, especially when you get to that third level, you realize what's possible and you start to see the effects that is happening in your life. It is kind of like the Neo thing where you start to gain more confidence, you start to believe, right? And what's the third part of the magic? It's that conviction, it's that belief, it's that faith, it's that being convinced that it's going to happen. And like with anything else, it's all about practice, right? So you get better at things, and as you get better at things, you start to everything starts to become easier, and other things start to become more natural to you. I sidetracked there because there was something I knew I wanted to say that just came to my mind, and then it just left just as quick as it did. Ding, marijuana affects the short-term memory. And there's a funny dynamic too. I think that's where I was thinking of teaching. Once you master something, if you will, the next step is to try and teach it back to someone. So once you progress yourself to the point where you've mastered these things, you're going to try to teach them to someone else. You're going to notice all these little things along the way that will teach you more about it. I experience all the time, even when I'm talking to you guys. It's a lot of the time while I'm talking, I'm having little realizations of things as it's coming out of my mouth because it's making me think of other things that are attached to what I'm saying. I'm a little bit autistic, so my brain is a little crazy. Yeah, it's true with everything, right? The more you work a muscle, the stronger it gets. The more you do something, the more you practice it, the easier it's going to become, and other things will become easier as well. You could do something like practice one breathing technique, like say Wim Hof's method, and get good at it, and then adopt a new breathing technique, and that breathing technique you'll pick up quicker. It's the same thing with learning languages. Once you've learned one, then you start to pick up the rest a lot easier too, because anything you practice, you get better at. So if this is the stuff you want to get better at, this is how you can practice. I have to feed my raccoon. I don't know if that's a serious comment. I'm gonna throw out a timestamp for you guys. We're at 1 hour 11 minutes. I did it again. That I think I do 1 hour 11 minutes. It's now 1 hour and 12 minutes. 1 hour 12 minutes and 2 seconds. You know, you see this particular room where they're getting closer to the end. It starts to look a little bit more like the reality as well, which is kind of bringing us back from that transition between the dream world and the real world. because you're getting closer to your goal. So this one is where she's going to go acquire her weapon, right? And I'll let our ascended master, higher self, gentleman friend explain the rest for you. For those of you who have seen American Gods, dead wife. Well, would you look at that? Looks an awful lot like Saturn. Yes, we get our weapons from our higher self. And you'll notice like they've all got like the same weapons all the time. It's because you get weapons that are kind of your own, right? It's a theme in a lot of things like Zelda. So, for those who want to look into magic and want to explore magic and want to embrace magic, all of a sudden the world changes. It becomes a lot more magic. So, for those who want to, explore, the world develops a new flavor. This is the part where you start to integrate your magical experiences, your astral experiences, your dreamtime experiences into your everyday life and start to carry the feelings over and the lessons over. And, that's the goal, right? We want to be able to manifest here in the real world. We want to be able to do things here in the real world. Good resources to learn about magic. I'd say anything you can find, just read it. And then listen to my Imagine live stream to put that all together. Crowley's stuff is great as long as you stop at a certain point. The main thing is that all of the energy, all of the power and focus of your magic should be coming from you and natural energy such as Mama and the cosmos, and not from entities and other people that you're vampiring it from. So when you're learning any form of magic, just watch for things like that. Watch where the energy is coming from. Is it coming from somewhere of consent, or are you stealing it from somewhere? If you have to steal it, it's not yours. Leave it alone. Robots are terrifying. See, this movie isn't very accurate because those robots, even though she's cut them up into pieces, they'd still be fucking her up. That special effect was pretty interesting for those of you who are familiar with the astral realm. Something kind of dissolving into orbs. Probably the equivalent of pixels. Timestamp on the movie, we are at 1 hour, 18 minutes, and 33 seconds. Them some badass bitches. Active audience, me, that's got nothing to do with the movie, man. Same types of practices I've talked about other times. It's a group of things, being grateful, finding joy in things, getting out into nature, reconnecting with your higher self, all of this stuff, pretty much everything. The more you do, the more open you become. And if you can kind of master each one of these different aspects, then you will find it naturally. You know, there's no real on and off switch. They're never really off. You just have to start feeling them more. So doing things like watching from synchronicities, being sensitive to energies, looking for auras, all that type of stuff. We have some time. Stupid action scenes, so I'm answering you. All that type of stuff all at once, you know, just keep doing all of it every day. What the fuck else are you going to do, right? You could read coronavirus shit all day. We watch the riots. Or you can work on yourself and find those abilities again. So I'm sorry for scolding you, man. It would actually help fill some time. And yeah, I think that this is all these different topics are really important to remember that you should be kind of practicing them all at once, right? Your dream time is your dream time, and focus on your dream time at dream time. Daily, you know, wake up in the morning, embracing nature, giving your gratitude to the universe, the planet, your loved ones. All those things you can be doing throughout the day at different times. So one thing about like Muslim religions with their prayer times and stuff like that, the fact that they've set out regimented times for ritual is actually a really good practice, and everyone should do that for themselves as well. Another little theme, I guess, that they're showing you here is the difference in time. How obviously what's happening here, it's taking a really long time, but what's happening here, it's not taking that much time. It's like, you know, if it's 5 minutes here and it's 10 minutes here, and then it's the same concept was given to us in Inception. The more conscious you become of astral travel, astral battle, all the different things that you would do in the astral, the more amount of time it would feel like you spend there. So you know, you could kind of live out whole experiences in the 3-hour nap you had once you get good at it. You can protect yourself from everything. I can't stress that enough, guys. Stop letting these people who are teaching you these things put the fear of God into you. You're more powerful than the people talking to you, so don't. Caution is important. Fear is stupid. You're just as powerful as these bitches. They are you. Problems rise, challenges come. Shit happens. But it's not what happens to the being. It's what the being does once it happens to them. On some level, there's always some form of choice, even if it's just how you respond. Big Trouble in Little Tokyo. Yes. Thankfully, the astral realm allows you to learn the hard way. Um, so it is kind of a good thing. It would be a good thing if people were taught these things so that they don't just stumble blindly. But unfortunately, that's the nature of our reality in society right now. That's how a lot of you found these things and started looking into them was by accident, right? Had a very eyes wide shut type vibe to it, that room. It doesn't necessarily coincide with the movie here, but when parts of your subconscious die, meaning characters in your dream are dying, especially if the characters you're becoming familiar with in your dream, that's usually an indication that they're not needed, that whatever, not needed in general, but just not needed within the dream time anymore. It's not part of the learning at the time, or you've already integrated that person, that part of yourself. And so they will make a usually dramatic exit. It's not always death, but there's usually some type of dramatic exit to make it significant for your psyche to understand the integration process. Therapy, especially like reverse MK Ultra therapy, is exactly that, just like kind of rewriting all of that stuff. But I don't have time to talk about it. That is very true about Eyes Wide Shut, which Kubrick died before the movie came out. There's a lot of stuff that they openly admit they've changed or did. Um, a lot of it is usually pretty superficial. there's a lot of stuff that just never made it in, and there's a kind of a, let's call it a vein of information that he was trying to put out in through it that just does not make any type of coherent sense because of the way they put the movie together, because they didn't want you to know. Maybe we should do that movie one day. She didn't get her knife, but she sure did get her weapons. Well then, this is, you know, there will be things that happen when you're going through these gauntlets that will kind of knock the wind out of your sails, so to speak, or make you want to give up. A lot of people do give up. A lot of people end up in encounters. A good friend of mine who I was leading through that process got to the point where he was dealing with other entities out there, and that scared the bejesus out of him enough that he didn't want to do it anymore. Taking breaks is always healthy if you feel overwhelmed. And, you know, if it's not for you, then it's not for you. And you can take other action in the world. I hope that everybody understands that, you know, what's going on in our real world is the most important part of all of this. It needs to maintain the majority of our focus. We can't get lost in dreamland, right? But if you've got that other shit on lockdown and you have the free time and attention and focus to explore dreamland and also, you know, take on the world in that level, on those levels, then do so. But if you don't, then you don't have to feel that. You don't have to feel like you're not helping enough, and you don't have to feel like you're not good enough, or that other people are better than you because they can. You know, different people have different responsibilities. If I was my ex-wife and my kid lived with me, I would have a lot less time than I do. He would take up more of my time, just as an example. He doesn't live with me, so he's not taking up that part of my time. Same thing might apply to some of you. You may have young kids, older kids, life responsibilities, jobs, all of these different things that would take up your time. You can't just ignore those things to play in Dream World. You know, please don't do it. You will hurt yourself, both in your real life and in your Dream World life. And then there's also the danger of taking the shit way too seriously in the terms of like, hey, I had this astral experience, this dream experience, and now I think I'm the king of fucking planet Earth, or something stupid like that. I'm just going to use a bad example because someone asked a question earlier about that particular person. Unfortunately, that's what a lot of people do. They dream shit up and they tell you it was real and think that they're the king of the world or the queen of the world, as it were. Well, if you are, do something in the real world. Proof is in the result. So if you ever do go back and watch this movie, pay attention to all the different times that this particular song comes in, because that's when they start bleeding the three together. Where is my mind? Right? Isn't that a twist? So, sacrificing the ego, crucifying the ego, integrating the ego, silencing the ego, and giving yourself to something bigger than yourself. And now, for the first time in the movie, she's actually going to dance while people are actually distracted. Or kick him in the nuts, whichever works. Yeah, lobotomy is gross, right? But that's not what we saw, is it? Not exactly, anyways. She wanted me to do it. The fire. Stab mark. All the pieces coming back together. The demon doesn't have its victim anymore. And desperation kicks in. And the squealing begins. Don't worry, Epstein will disappear. There is no line. The integrated self. That's number 22, Wayne. Looks like a young Bruce Wayne. Higher self, your angels speaking through other people. Aww. All right. Now that's how you end a fucking movie, right? Uh, very powerful message there. Everybody wants to help. Everybody wants to be a part of something bigger, and everybody is making the mistake of looking up there and out there for all of that. The answer's always been here. You know it. All that fear, all that anxiety that you feel is because you actually do know it. And you're scared of taking the responsibility necessary. But look around at our world, people. We've been fucking around way too long. There's no more time in the hourglass. So you've got all the weapons you need, right? You get out editing these podcasts like I keep saying I'm going to do. I'm now 4 behind. It's fucking gross. Sorry. They'll get done soon. And I'm going to kind of spur of the moment probably do crossing the river sometime soon. Kind of fallen off of doing it on specific days because I hate booking the time and then just not feeling like I want to do it. So I'd rather just kind of do it when I feel like I want to do it. And I'll try and give you guys as much heads up as I can. How's that? Hopefully you enjoyed the movie to some extent. Hopefully everybody's okay. I would suggest maybe going back and looking at the movie sometime without me talking. If you were just watching it for your first time, I'd probably talked over some important dialogue at some point. Yes. So, I don't think anything's going to hit Earth anytime soon. There's definitely going to be a lot of threats of something out there very soon. Yeah. Sorry, guys. I'm not going to stick around for questions today. We'll do that next time. Love you all. Hope everybody's staying safe, staying healthy. You know, get outside, do some stuff. Don't be scared. You should have noticed people aren't dying in the streets, so unless they're rioting in the streets. Yeah. Take care of you for us. Love you. Bye.